What up, young scholars? This is your boy, the extra large professor of Cypher, giving you a review of HBO in treatment. And so I'm looking at week one, Layla and Brooke, week one of the Monday's episode of in treatment. Once again, this is season four of in treatment, which in many cases you could just consider this like a total reboot. And so let's just jump right into it. First of all, we have a new patient by the name of Layla. And this new patient is what what we would consider well-off millennial that who has sex, who is has described herself as a sex addict. And so it's Brooke's job once again to help her to get through the process of therapy. So right when we meet her right away, we find that Layla is being brought to the therapy session by her grandma. If I don't know the actress name, but she played Aunt Viv's sister, like the dark skin Aunt Viv, the original one. She played her sister on Fresh Prince. So what we find here is like she's the grandma of Layla, who is a young lady, like I said, that's a millennial, that's a sex addict. And right away, she goes into the therapy session with, I want to say it's a sort of millennial attitude. She didn't want to be in a therapy session. She basically called herself trying to read Brooke in a sense like, well, how old are you? And, who are you to tell me who I am when you're from Generation X and your generation did nothing but go smoke crack and go to the clubs and you who are you to judge my generation? You left us in this effed up world with climate issues, and now we're going to be stuck here. And I really love how Brooke handled it. She was like, "Okay, little girl, now that we've been through all of this, this evasive stuff, let's get to what the real issue is." So she starts off, I think, trying to shock Brooke by telling her that she is queer and basically trying to read how she would react to her being self-identified as a lesbian. And Brooke was like, "Well, how do you know I'm even straight?" So she's telling her right away, like, we're both filling each other out. So let's go through this therapy process. And Layla describes herself as having a 4.0. She has these high expectations. Her grandma has these high expectations for her going to college. She has a father who owns a car dealership, and he gives her everything she wants, but she does not have a connection with him. But what really is the core of the issue is that Layla, in a sense, has a sort of issue with the fact that she wants to be in control of her life, and she describes it as wanting to have total leadership. And she begins describing her that this whole desire for leadership started when she was a young girl playing with Barbie dolls and that sort of thing. But then when we get down deep into it, what she describes then it's not really a sex addiction. It's not really a daddy issues. Is she's really involved in a taboo relationship. She is 18 headed to college, but she is in an intimate and romantic relationship with a high school freshman. So basically, we're talking about a 14, 15-year old. Now, this is where the therapy gets quite complicated because the young lady feels that she's not doing anything wrong. As a matter of fact, she said age ain't nothing but a number, and which Brooke was like, "Do you know who wrote that song? Do you know what's going on here? Like, Google this, So she's like telling her this is problematic, but she doesn't see any issue with it. Um, And it really, we're just beginning because this is the first therapy session. So we're trying to, Brooke is trying to get her to understand, or trying to get a better understanding of why has she developed an intimate relationship with this young lady. Now, I would say personally myself, and keep in mind, I am Dr. JL, but I am an English professor, so I have no therapy background. So, this is just purely just review. But one of the things that, that I would say that really stuck out to me is, okay, we have this beautiful young lady who is 18, in a sense, who is involved in statutory rape case, a pedophile in a sense case. I mean, she's 18 and she's having a intimate relationship with a 15-year-old. And I thought it was quite interesting because I think had it been a young 18-year-old male and a 15-year-old freshman, we would look at it different, but we're looking at this beautiful young lady. And I think they're really challenging the viewer to say, do we have these sort of double standards? But nonetheless, it's still like a problematic relationship. And she's going to try to get the therapist, Brooke is going to try to get Laila to understand, like, why would you form this type of relationship? What is it that you are looking for? Why is it that as a young lady that's 18 who has the whole world in the palm of her hands, why is she trying to keep and maintain a relationship with a young lady that's 50, who is 15 years old? So I can't wait to see how they further develop this character. I just think it's, that it's kind of cool that she is a beautiful, attractive young 18-year-old girl. And it's really kind of messing with us as the viewer, like the double standard. Would we, sort of really be comfortable as an audience looking at this sort of relationship that is taboo? And would we feel comfortable with this if this was a man and woman? So I like the way that we are, that In Treatment is looking at this so far. And then we go to the second episode, which is Brooke. Now, unlike In Treatment 1, 2, and 3, that happened like 10 years ago, it was a male therapist by the name of Paul Weston. And he oftentimes had therapy sessions with a fellow therapist who was his former supervisor and that sort of thing. But Brooke is not receiving therapy from a fellow therapist. She actually has a sponsor. And what we have come to find out that Brooke, the therapist, is actually an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic. And which I find adds another dynamic. I was talking to my wife about that. She was like, why is it that in all of these shows where you see powerful Black women, they always have an alcohol issue? Like if you go to Annalise from How to Get Away with Murder, or I don't know, the lady from Scandal had the daddy and drinking issues. And now we have Brooke. I don't know. I'm not here to talk about that, but just something to think about. But Brooke is dealing with the loss of her father. And what we come to find out that at a young age of 15, that her father, who was an architect and well respected in the community, forced Brooke to either get an abortion or to put her child up for adoption at the age of 15, primarily because in her mind, she feels like he didn't want her to spoil the family reputation. So she often wonders what her son, what that relationship would have been like. Could she have made it as a college student? So she's thinking about all of these issues. So, I mean, she went on to Stanford, she's successful, but she still has, and now, she's successful as a 42-year-old living in Baldwin Hills, a nice, beautiful house, but now she doesn't have family. Now she doesn't have a relationship. She described losing her mother, as a result of a divorce. Her father was a workaholic. Now her father is dead, so she doesn't have that relationship. You know, she seemed to be really, really bothered by those things. And, rightfully so. And she's beginning to struggle with her alcohol. So she has her sponsor. Her sponsor is Rita. And she's like calling her out. She was like, you lost your father and you didn't head the AA meeting that you usually do. What is going on? Like, you're not contacting people, you're isolating yourself. And I never really, personally, dealt with alcoholism, but apparently it is very important for those who struggle with alcohol to constantly be in that support group and to constantly, have that, because it is a disease. So, you need the help of your sponsor. And Rita is like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not going to leave you, but I'm noticing that I'm beginning to see some fractures in who you are as a person, as a therapy client. Now you're beginning to talk to your patients 2 o'clock in the morning. What's going on? Or you beginning to see like your patient Aliando, are you beginning to see him as the son that you lost? How does that coincide with your father? Um, she's really checking for. And then the thing that really comes out is we find that Brooke is getting back with into an intimate relationship with her on again, off again boyfriend named Adam. And apparently these two are trouble. And Rita knows it. She was like, okay, your dad's dead. You're losing it as a therapist. And now you're getting back with a boyfriend that basically you live this destructive lifestyle of alcoholism. And so, she's basically trying to check Rita like, hey, I come from Stanford. Hey, are you really my friend? Or is this a tactic? All of these things that Brooke is trying to evade to not have her stuff come out. So I would say, man, this was a dynamic episode. And towards the end, what we find is Adam later comes over to the house. Rita is like, I love you. I'm here for you. Um, you know, I can't control you and that sort of thing, but, I'm just here for you. So, with that being said, I think it was a fantastic episode. I look forward to next week episode, and I want you guys to tell me what you think about the following episode of In Treatment. Thank you, and check me out next week. Peace.